How's it going, friends? I have disturbing news. There's a terrible new threat to democracy in Europe. It's Slovakia. In little more than 6 months, they've held 2 elections, and both times the people voted wrong. The wrong people were put in major positions of power. Now, here's how democracy is supposed to work. Powerful globalist elites tell you who to vote for, and if those people win, then democracy is strong and healthy. If those people lose, democracy is under threat and major totalitarian actions must be undertaken in order to save democracy. And we've seen this play out all over Europe with major political parties being banned in some countries, major political leaders being charged with thought crimes in some countries, major political leaders being charged and sometimes even convicted of completely manufactured nonsense crimes, all to shut them up because winning elections is a threat to democracy if the wrong people win. It's a pretty simple concept. So last fall, Slovakia held a national election. A man named Robert Fico became the new prime minister. He's part of Smer, which is a social democrat party. But in parts of more Eastern Europe, Slovakia, Moldova, Romania, Bulgaria, a lot of the socialists are more conservative on social issues than a lot of the people who claim to be conservatives in Western and Northern Europe. So the globalists particularly hate Fico. He's a nationalist. He's conservative. He opposes open borders. And he butts heads with the globalists on everything from vaccine mandates to the war in Ukraine. So the globalists really wanted to get someone in as president of Slovakia that would be a counter to Robert Fico and try to derail part of his agenda. The globalists really wanted to get someone in as president of Slovakia who would be a counter to Robert Fico and would be an impediment to Fico's overall agenda. So these are the 3 main Slovakian candidates. There's Peter Pellegrin, who's part of the Hlas party, which is another social democrat party. And he's seen as an ally of Robert Fico and someone who supports Fico's agenda. So he's the enemy. Then you have Ivan Korczak, who technically was like the center-right candidate, only center-right like Angela Merkel's CDU, that kind of center. So the fake globalist center-right. So he was advocating like what could be considered a more traditional center-right economic policy, a more libertarian leaning economic policy compared to a more socialist policy. However, he's basically a Europhile and globalist. Then you had Stefan Harabin, who's an ex-communist, but he's super conservative. I mean, he would be called right-wing on social issues. Initially in round 1, Korczak came in first place. He did way better than the polls showed him doing. And it looked like he could potentially win. However, I think a lot of Harabin's voters came back for round 2 and voted for Pellegrin. And so he ended up winning with 51 to about 47, or he ended up winning 53 to about 47%. So the globalists are going bonkers, particularly in Germany, where you have the CDU, Social Democrat, Green Party, Die Linke, just uniparty. And you've got ranking MPs from the CDU and the Green Party calling for the expulsion of Hungary as a warning to Slovakia. They've already been attacking and rabble-rousing against Hungary for years. And another reason they hate Robert Fico is because he's close with Viktor Orban. So they're saying flat out, here's what we need to do. We need to threaten to stop all EU funds to Slovakia, which Slovakia is a net recipient. If they halted all the funds, there'd be no reason for Slovakia to even be in the EU anymore. So they, basically have to leave, because then they would just be paying money into it and getting nothing back. But you have major German MPs saying flat out, expel Hungary and tell Slovakia that they're next unless they behave and be more democratic. This is how they talk. They just gaslight. They're anti-democratic now. Just overnight, the country became an anti-democratic state because they voted for the wrong people. Pretty soon, there's going to be another EU general election. And here's what can potentially happen. There's already a grouping based on, national sovereignty and securing the border, and it transcends economic policy, identity and democracy. And so on one side, you've got Alternative for Germany and Austrian Freedom Party, which are more of a traditional center-right economic policy, more libertarian leaning, what we think of as, center-right economics in the United States. Then you've got a bunch of parties that are more like big tent populist on economics. And then all the way on the other side, you have the French National Rally, which is more of a left populist. So it's more along the lines of the Social Democrats of Smer and Heilis in Slovakia in terms of economics. And then you've got this Fidesz from Hungary is now unaffiliated. They've been expelled from the EPP, and they haven't reaffiliated. What Fidesz is trying to do now is act as a bridge between the Identity and Democracy group and the European Conservatives and Reformers group, as well as some small remaining allies they have in the EPP. They're trying to be like a nexus for all these parties to cooperate. And then Fidesz is also allied with Robert Fico and Smer. So imagine that within all the entities I just described, you have a much larger nationalist bloc that ranges from parties that are economically center-right to parties that are social democrats. That it would be all about opposing open borders and opposing the globalist agenda and bringing back national sovereignty. So that's the big threat right now to the globalists in the EU. Now, if the EU actually starts kicking out countries, which you've got these major elected officials in Germany saying point blank, kick out Hungary now as a warning to Slovakia, well, then everything just falls apart. Because everybody's going to know what a fraud they are if they start kicking countries out of the EU because the people vote the wrong way. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about this, and click the subscribe button. New video every few days.